when I get to the bus for the first time and I see there's a new suit, right? It's, you've had these, in the middle of the season and whatnot, but certainly Daytona 500 starting a new season. It's the first time in 20 years. So yeah, it's different, but it's time for change, right? And certainly we're really happy to have a national debt relief on the car, and it's a partnership that's going to go beyond just this one race.
As a multi-time winner, what does this race mean to you?
Well, to me, I try to tell people that we try so hard to make it to NASCAR when we're kids, right? We're trying to get to the highest form of motorsports, but then to win its biggest race is like it's one of the things that we aspire to do, and to have done it 3 times, it's certainly special. And if any one of you have the question of, well, what will a 4th mean? I can't answer that because I tried to figure out what it would be like to win 1, and I had no idea until I won 1, and I had no idea until after 2 did I know what 2 meant. So it's all really, really hard to put into words, but it's just the tension when you come back. You're in an elite class of drivers that have won this multiple times, and it's just one of those things that stays on your resume forever.
To that point, each race itself is different. As you're approaching this one, what's on your mind?
I think it starts with tonight, truthfully, where I really feel like we've lost results on super speedways. It's because we've qualified in the back. And once the track gets log jammed 2x2 or log jammed 3x3, there's nowhere to go. So, and then, it's executing on pit road. It's, all the things that I grew up trying to learn to be really, really good at. That's foot on the gas, going wide open, trying to figure this thing out, get to the front at all costs. That is the opposite of how you become successful in next-gen super speedway racing. It's how can I slow down more to give my pit crew less time on pit road. It's, how do I get on and off pit road? And on the racetrack, I feel dialed in just as I was in the old race car. It's all the other things that the races are won that I've got to get better at in the next gen era.
Was qualifying ever?
No, it's never mattered as much as it does now, just simply because of the way these cars punch hair holes in the air. There's just not the ability to drive from the back to the front. The last year of Gen 5 car, I restarted 29th at Talladega on a green white checkered, won the race. And so that day is over with. You've got to be well up front now.
That said, how do you try to fine tune qualifying? And has that been a real point of interest?
Yeah.
Point of focus in during off.
Yeah, it certainly has. From our team standpoint, we know that, while we always said qualifying never really mattered at Daytona, Talladega, that was true when you could really make a lot of moves to get to the front. Now it's very, very difficult. So it starts on qualifying day. And so surely, what I'm looking for is just progression. If you look at all the Toyotas, and we qualified probably on average 25th last year on these types of tracks, can we get that better tonight? Can we move that number to 20th or 18th or something in the right direction to give ourselves a better chance?
Denny, why have you decided to take on the establishment when it comes to the labor stuff, the charter? I know a lot of drivers just go with the flow.
Yeah.
You've decided.
Well, for 20 years, I've tried my best to form change in a positive manner for the sport, and it's one that I love. It's one I aspired to be here when I was a kid. But sometimes change, comes there's restraint that comes with change, right? And so, unfortunately, things just came to a head, and we had to exercise our legal options to make the change happen. There was, a difficult time kind of during the playoffs a little bit last year where, things were starting to get fouled and whatnot, and playoffs are going on. And then this offseason obviously was all about ownership and the off-track stuff. But actually, we've been very fortunate the way the timing has gone and when the court proceedings have been scheduled. That now I'm straight driver. There's nothing I need to do for the next few months while things continue to proceed. So it's a good time for me to focus on being a driver and trying to win as many races as I can. Yeah, Joe's been great, just like he always has been. I mean, he's been my second father, especially my first father at the racetrack for all of my career. So I believe that, we've actually become closer in the sense that we're talking about, now that I'm an owner, I give my perspective on things. And, he's been so used to things going one certain way. And now that, being challenged a little bit, I think it's opened his eyes quite a bit.
Denny, could this sour MJ, Michael on the sport? And do you worry about it?
No, I really don't. I think that we love the sport. We've said we love the sport, and this is all going to be stronger because of it.
As you mentioned, there is a lull right now. Is that a relief to you to be able to get back in the car?
Yeah, it is. I mean, the off-track stuff when it comes to like building the race team. We have a new team coming on with Riley. That interests me because we're recruiting people. We're getting people in there. Of course, there's the off-track proceeding stuff that goes on, but even that, it was interesting to me, learning some of that stuff for the first time. But this is what I love. Being a race car driver itself is my first passion, and it still is a passion even here in year 20. And so, until that goes away, I'm going to continue to be here. Are you talking about him in particular? Yeah. Yes. So that's the point of emphasis for the 23 team, no doubt about it. They have had 10 to 12 race stretches in his career where he has been as a top 5 driver team. They have not done it for 26 races or 36 races yet. They have not put it all together for a whole season. And it's unfortunate because what has happened is that it's always like a panic in the last 10 races before the playoffs start that, oh my gosh, we got to get more points. We got to get, if we would have started that process earlier, we wouldn't have been in the panic. So I think that it's for Bubba realizing that every race is very important. And I fought it for most of my career. I fought getting off the slow starts, and it wasn't until the summer months. Tony Stewart was always known for, well, wait till it gets to summer. He'll pick it up then. Well, as the formats have changed and the regular season, you're accumulating points or you got to get in or not, it's made more emphasis on, you got to be solid. If you're one of the guys that aren't guaranteed to win every year, you got to be solid from beginning to end. Yeah, that's going to be the only kink I see in kind of the new DVP is that, again, if it's a major incident, it's who's going to get the tow first. I think a lot of it's just going to depend on where your ping pong ball ended up in the grass, right? They're going to get the ones out that are closest out. If you're got cars all around you, they're not going to go in the middle and pull you out, right? So it's really going to just depend on where you end up getting ping-ponged around. It was a little tougher scheduling-wise for us because we bought some of the equipment from SHR, and transitioning those cars from Fords to Toyotas was a process, so we had to send them in, get them redone. But I think we're all up to full song now. I guess I should have been more clear. Oh, okay, sorry. Sponsorship inventory, we feel pretty good about things. We got some new partners coming in, some that have been announced, some that will be announced shortly, and then some that will be announced in a few weeks that we're all really excited about.
So, Denny, what is kind of the secret sauce for you on this car?
Well, I feel like I used to know it well, but I want to remind everyone that I've ran 40 races at Daytona. I've only won 3 of them. So my record, if you look at it from a win-loss perspective, it's horrendous. But in our sport, they call it great. It's amazing. So I'm 3 for 40 or so. I think it's just for a while there, I got the privilege to race against some of the greatest super speedway racers that this sport's ever seen. I was very lucky to come in the sport when I did, when the Jeff Gordons and Tony Stewart and Dale Jr.'s taught me. I was on track with them, and I saw right away their IQ was exponentially higher than what mine was when I was a young driver. And so I think it's more difficult in today's type of super speedway racing to see high IQ, just simply because of, I know how to go get a run, but I know I can't take it now, because if I do, it's just not going to pay off. Like, I used to be able to make the run and get back in and keep going. So it's just, I think it's harder for the young drivers to learn what it takes. And now what you're probably all hearing about is just, I just need to survive. Because that's what the others have done. I just see it differently because I saw some of the great moves that great drivers have done. And before I won my first, I failed at a couple green white checkers where I did have a chain. So I think failing first is what helped.
What one sticks out there?
The one where Joey won is the first one in my mind that came to me where, okay, it's a green white checker and I'm starting on the front row. How can I win this race? And I didn't do it. And then there was another instance. After 16, there was 17. Was leading on green white checkered again. That was one Austin Dillon won.
Was that Kurt Busch with the car taped together, or was it Dillon 8?
I think maybe it was Dillon. It was whatever year Dillon won. I blew that green white check. Like, there was just many, many failures, and it just so happens that I had 3 wins that make us look more successful than we probably would have been.
You mentioned Jeff last thing, Jeff Gordon. 20 years ago was his third win. How did he change the sport?
Well, he changed the commercial side of the sport more than anything, right? I think when he came in, that's when you had this huge boom of Fortune 500 companies following suit. He was as interesting off the racetrack as he was on the racetrack, and that is the key to all of this.
That's so excellent. Thanks.
Qualifying for 500 world-class drivers this year. What's the drive? What the drivers, the team members say?
Yeah, it's different. I mean, I try to explain on the podcast that, it's one of the more difficult things about my job is to have to give a tough opinion on something and then have to go face the people that you gave the tough opinion on. But that's what I signed up for, right? And I think it's why people tune in, is to hear that authentic take of someone that is directly in the know on the sport. But I tell you, I haven't really heard anything from the drivers themselves. I think the owners probably are split on it. But I mean, it's only going to be a factor on what we believe is weekends like this. And if Elio puts itself in by, qualifying in tonight or tomorrow, then it was a non-factor altogether.